Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Today's video is regarding two of the recently released documents and decisions made by Judge Hippler in the Idaho 4 murder case of Ethan Chapin, Xander Kernodle, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Gonzalez on November 13th, 2022 in the early morning hours between 4:08 and 4:20. I guess if you want to be specific, you could say 4:20 and 47 seconds. Although we know at 4:20 and 47 seconds, when the car is heading away, he's obviously been out of the house for a while. My opinion is that the homicides took place between 4:10 and 4:17. So in today's video, we're going to go over two of the elements that were decided on: the Dylan Mortonson observation of bushy eyebrows, and also the information regarding Amazon. And I think those are two huge decisions made by the judge. Now let's start off with the eyebrows. I've talked about some of this before, but now I'm going to put in all the quotes that were mentioned in the document in one quick run through. I actually use an AI female voice to read what Dylan Mortonson said in some of these interviews. But first, let's make sure that everybody knows when Kohberger's name even popped up for the first time in law enforcement circles. So let's take a look at the timing of when law enforcement knew about a white Elantra assigned to Kohberger. I believe it's on November 29, 2022 at approximately 12:28 a.m., Washington State University police officer Daniel Tiango queried white Elantras registered at WSU. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Elantra with a Pennsylvania license plate LFZ 8649. This vehicle was registered to Brian Kohberger, hereafter Kohberger, and it showed where he lived at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201. Then the same day, at literally 30 minutes later, WS officer Curtis Whitman looked for white Honda Elantra. So I think it was on the 24th of November, or the 25th. Could it be the 24th or 25th? There it is, the 25th. The Moscow Police Department asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for white Elantras in the area. So on the 29th, within 30 minutes of each other, two different officers noted that at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201, Pullman, Washington, that there was a white Elantra and it had Pennsylvania plates on it. Now this officer is a little different down here because it says, I reviewed Kohberger's Washington State driver's license. This is what Officer Whitman noticed. And that's this officer at 12:58. Officer Curtis Whitman was looking for Honda Elantras and located 2015 white Honda Elantra at 1630 Northeast Valley Road in Pullman in the parking lot. So at this point, Kohberger is already registered his vehicle, but he's probably waiting for the plates to show up. And so the first officer up here, Daniel Tiango, he noticed the white Elantra and that it had Pennsylvania plates on it. All right. Now this officer down here, Curtis Whitman, he actually ran the plates and it came back with Washington tag, but he's got to wait for the plates to come in. So when Kohberger went in and registered in Washington, he has to wait for his plates to come in to put the tags on it. I reviewed Kohberger's Washington State license information and photograph. This license indicates that Kohberger is a white male with a height of 6 feet and weighs 185 pounds. Additionally, the photograph of Kohberger shows that he has bushy eyebrows. So, and his physical description is similar to what Dylan Mortonson described, so perhaps they gave that information out to the officers at that time. But as you can see, this is the 29th, all right? Now, Dylan Mortonson started mentioning bushy eyebrows on November 17th, just 4 days after the homicides. So now let's listen to some of the quotes, or I think I have all of them, that Dylan Mortonson made in the document just released in various different interviews that she had. There may be more times where she mentioned things, but these are the incidents that are in the document. So here we go. So on November 13, 2022, Officer Mitch Nunez and Detective Lawrence, one after another, during the same day of the homicides, interviewed Dylan Mortonson. And she said,
"Not insanely tall, wearing all black, mask that was just covering his forehead and mouth. He was a little bit taller than me. I couldn't really see much of him. I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit, and he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth. Basketball player, kind of skinny. I was kind of in and out of it because I was so scared, and I was really tired."
So she said it was a white male that she did not know.
Maybe my height, a few inches taller, skinny, athletic built. I'm 5'10", so he's probably around 6 feet. No.
When asked if she saw eyebrow color.
I don't remember what his eyes looked like either. I saw his eyes, and he was definitely a white guy. Everything was kind of blurry, like I don't fully remember it. I would say.
On November 17, 2022, Detective Victoria Gooch and MPD Captain Dustin Blaker, they asked Dylan some questions, and she said,
"It's okay, I'm going to help you. I was out of it. Probably still tipsy. I believe I was also very drunk. And I don't know how I knew it was someone because from my mind, it's like I was almost wearing these like blurry glasses. Like it's fuzzy and cloudy, but it was like a figure of someone wearing all black. I just remember like bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about. I know he looked at me because I could see his eyebrows. I think I just saw one eyebrow. I don't know why or how. I don't know for sure if it fully happened. I don't know if my mind's like making up stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. Yes, I was traumatized and it could affect my memory. Yes, I suffer from anxiety. I have a lot of lucid dreams of being like kidnapped or chased. I would watch Criminal Minds and fall asleep to crime podcasts. It wasn't like the regular ski mask with like eyes and, because I saw his eyebrows. But I don't know. I just feel like I can see eyebrows. But I mean, that could be it. I just remember thinking like eyebrows, yeah, bushy, but that's all. I don't remember the shape. I don't remember like the color.
So as you can hear, she does mention bushy eyebrows, and she really focuses in on the eyebrows almost to the point, as we're listening to it, like it's its own entity. That's why I've done these videos where I'm chatting with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT sort of gets sarcastic about them because it's almost like the eyebrows are superhuman or something like that. So on December 1st, 2022, now this is after the two officers found the white Elantra on the Pullman, Washington campus, Brian Koberger's that is, the 2015 with the Pennsylvania plates. But as we see before, the first time that Dylan Mortonson mentioned it, at least in the interviews that we're seeing, is on November 17th. And I believe I had an email not too long after that also mentioned the bushy eyebrows. There was a source that I had that knew one of the friends that said something about bushy eyebrows, and that's even before the two officers spotted the white Elantra. All right, so let's move on to December 1st. So on December 1st, 2022, forensic interviewer Aaron Williamson interviewed Dylan Mortonson.
All black figure, about my height, maybe a few inches taller, skinny build. I saw, I don't remember if it was just like one eyebrow or two, but it was just like this bushy eyebrow. It was like almost rectangular. I could just see like an eyebrow. I feel like that's how I know he saw me, because I could see his eyebrow. I don't know why I just see one. It was just like one bushy eyebrow. I don't remember the color, like the full shape. I just remember it being bushy. It was just weird. I didn't fully understand whether it was a dream or not. I thought he might be a fireman.
Now, her saying she thought it might be a fireman might be because she heard a voice saying, "It's okay, I'm here to help you." So she might have just thought of that. And up above, where it mentioned it was almost rectangular, I believe she's referring to the opening of the balaclava, if I remember correctly. I'm just removing the quotes that she had in that document, but I think she was talking about the opening of the balaclava in that situation. If I'm not correct, let me know in the comment section. And also let me know in the comment section what you think about that. I mean, it's amazing how she was talking about the eyebrows, like that's something that she just absolutely noticed and almost exclusively remembered, other than he was wearing all black and wearing a face mask of some sort, a balaclava, it sounds like. So on December 30th, 2022, Idaho State Police detectives interviewed her.
I saw his mugshot but had no clue whether it was the person I saw in my house. From what I remember, I just remember seeing this figure that was like not fat, obviously, but more of like the skinnier tone build and some mask on. I don't know what the mask exactly was. I just remember knowing that he was white, but I didn't know how he was white. I just knew he was. I knew he had looked at me because of the bushy eyebrow. That's all I remember. When I looked at his picture, nothing came back to me at all. All I remember is like some bushy eyebrow in all black and some sort of mask, May 15th.
So again, she just keeps talking about the eyebrow. And then on May 15th, 2023, at the grand jury, in her testimony, she said,
2023. I didn't know who the man's voice was. A figure in all black, which I believe was a person. I knew the person was white. I don't know how, but I just knew it. Knew it was male. I think I knew that because of the voice. The person was around my height or a few inches taller. His build wasn't like scrawny, and he wasn't fat, so I figured it was like the basketball, toned, lean build. There was like, from what I think I remember, it was like a black mask, almost like a ski mask, but not. It just like covered the head, and then maybe up to the mouth, maybe more. His clothing was all black. Well, the thing I can really remember was something about a bushy eyebrow. I don't remember seeing anything else, just something about a bushy eyebrow.
So when you listen to that, it's like, man, she doesn't remember anything else, just that bushy eyebrow. But obviously she does remember other stuff about wearing all black and the head covering, probably a balaclava of some sort. And I think what she might be saying when somebody, we have to know the question that was asked. It would be something like, so can you remember anything more about his actual face? And then she probably said, the only thing I can remember is his bushy eyebrows. I don't remember seeing anything else, but something about a bushy eyebrow. So obviously she noticed that he was wearing all black. And if you remember, she said that it looked like he was carrying something like a vacuum, something of that nature. So obviously she noticed other things. So I think the context of the questions is important. However, I'm just putting in here the quotes that she said. All right. So I think it's obvious that Dylan Mortonson came up with the bushy eyebrow thoughts on her own because they didn't even know who Brian Koberger was until the 29th of November. He didn't even make it into anybody's system. So the judge ruled that Dylan Mortonson's testimony at trial is absolutely warranted and will be allowed to discuss what she noticed regarding the bushy eyebrows. So here is the other element we were going to talk about, the Amazon search information and purchase information. And it's absolutely incredible and highly relevant. Defendant moves to exclude any evidence. So Brian Koberger and his team moved to exclude any evidence of defendant's Amazon purchase history or click activity on grounds that it is out of context, incomplete, and unfairly prejudicial. I mean, are you guys as sick as I am as this unfairly prejudicial stuff? Like for example, if you had a photograph of somebody have a gun in their hand and the person in front of them gets killed and you see the flame and firing coming from the gun, and yeah, the photo shows that that person did kill that person, is it really just too prejudicial to show that? Or is that just really the evidence that's out there? Or if you had a videotape of a crime being committed and you can see the guy's face clearly, isn't that prejudicial? Like, oh my God, it's really going to sway the jury. But that's real evidence. I mean, I understand the use of that's too prejudicial in certain circumstances, but I think it's just way overused by defense teams to try to remove information. But they've got to try, I guess. This evidence will be presented by the state through Shane Cox and Michael Douglas, who will testify simply to what the documentary evidence states, all of which was provided to defendant in discovery. The evidence is highly relevant. A K-bar knife sheath was found lying next to the body of one of the deceased victims. That's Madison Mogen on her right side on the bed in Madison Mogen's room. And Kaylee Gonzalez was also in the room, apparently sitting up in the corner, but kind of hunched over. And all of the victims were stabbed to death. Defendant's DNA was found on the knife sheath. Records from an Amazon account registered to the defendant. So this is his Amazon account, his name, and his email show that a purchase of a Ka-Bar knife and sheath was made from that account approximately 8 months prior to the homicides. Click activity on the same account shows the customer also viewed pages associated with Ka-Bar style knives at the time. So he was looking around for different Ka-Bar knives and literally purchased one on his account with his email address. And then in the week following the purchase, viewed pages associated with the shipping progress. So he was checking on, when am I going to get this? When am I going to get this? Of the knife and sheath. The product was shipped to Brian Kohberger. So it was his account using his email, and it was sent to himself at his family address in Pennsylvania. After the homicides, activity from the same account showed the user navigated pages related to the deletion of account activity, and a week later viewed pages associated with a Ka-Bar knife and sheath. This evidence established a significant connection between defendant and Ka-Bar knife and sheath. So don't you think it's incredible that he was trying to figure out how to delete the fact that he purchased that Ka-Bar knife, and then he was going to look to purchase it again. Now, it's kind of interesting. Why would he do that again? Wouldn't you just want to delete it and not make it look like you're buying another one? Because the DNA is on that knife sheath, and you're saying, well, no, look, I bought mine this time. It's so damning that he tried to figure out how to delete the purchase of that, and then he's looking again to buy another one. I've often thought that the knife sheath was left as a calling card. Maybe it's possible at this time that he was purchasing another Ka-Bar knife to commit another homicide and just wanted to delete the original purchase so there isn't like multiple purchases of Ka-Bar knife sheaths. Maybe he was going to try to delete the purchase history every time he bought one. But I think once he realized that he couldn't do that, perhaps he looked into purchasing another one so that it looks like, hey, no, I've still got mine, but I bought mine at this time. It's ludicrous to me. I don't think Brian Kohberger is a genius by any stretch of the imagination. So here's what we have currently in the case. We have Brian Kohberger, who turned his phone off at, let's say, 2:53, like the defense wants. Shows up into the area at 3:26. Drives by the A&W right here. Then passes the Ridge Road camera. And pulls in and just starts looping around, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then at 4:01 and 30 seconds or so, the vehicle's coming by here, and then 4:01:43 as it's driving by, it takes a picture of his white Elantra missing its front license plate, which is consistent with a vehicle from Pennsylvania and Brian Kohberger's specific vehicle missing a front license plate, because in Pennsylvania they do not require front license plates. So that vehicle right there is very highly suggestive of Brian Kohberger being in the area. A white 2015 to 2016, I believe they had, white Hyundai Elantra, or maybe it was 2014 to 2015, white Honda Elantra, missing a front license plate. Very suggestive. Then we have, at the house over here, After the homicides took place between, I would say, 409 and 418 or so, maybe, I think it's literally 410 to about 417. Right around that time frame, the homicides took place, and a knife sheath was left on Madison Mogen's bed right inside of this circle right here. And on that knife sheath was Brian Kohberger's DNA. Now we know that Brian Kohberger purchased the exact same K-bar knife and sheath, the Eagle Globe version, and the sheath had Brian Kohberger's DNA on it. And now we know that Brian Kohberger purchased that exact same K-bar knife and sheath from Amazon. So isn't it highly relevant that he purchased a K-bar knife sheath in 2022 in January that ends up a sheath matching that purchase ends up on the bed of Madison Mogen with Brian Kohberger's DNA on it, and a white Elantra, a 2015 white Elantra, is parked outside of the residence while the homicides are taking place, and then speeds away at 420. I mean, I don't know how the Kohbergers hear something like this and go, yeah, but, and it's insane, you guys. Brian Kohberger, in my opinion, is 100% the killer in this case. There is no doubt. And if by some reason the jury is made up of these wackadoodle Kohberger types, and he's found not guilty somehow, they will never investigate this case again because he is the guy. All right? So I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Hope you found it interesting. Please leave a comment in the comments section and let me know what you thought. Thank you all for watching, and as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.